Today we're going to look at two interesting little pens from my collection, and I'm just going to refer to them as the Geha school pen, student pens. And, well, they're really interesting little pens. Uh, this one here has a label on it still, and it says Geha 700L, 711L, I should say. Sorry, not 700, but 711L. And it's kind of interesting. It still has the label, meaning that's probably until I had it, it wasn't used by anybody. And this one here doesn't have any actual numbers or anything like that on it. Uh, the cap says Geha, made in Germany. But otherwise, except for a couple little design differences, they're pretty much exactly the same. A few little differences here and there. So I'd probably also say that's a 711, but maybe not an L. Maybe it's just the 711, and this is the 711L. Now, they're pretty much the same size. Actually, they are the same size and the same shape. Clips are fairly much the same. There's a couple little differences. This is a little wider at the end, and this is a bit narrower, a bit sleeker. This one has Geha written on the clip. This has just a plain clip. The cap here on this pen does not say Geha, but it does on this one around the band. They both have ink windows. This is a round ink window, and this is a rectangular ink window. The sections are actually different, and the nibs are fairly much... Actually, the nibs are different too, but they're probably in the same branding line. And both of them are student pens. Now, quite often a student pen would have an ink window in it, so that the child would, or the person using it would know they're getting down on ink. Geha is a funny company. It's a West German company, no longer exists, and interesting history. They were very competitive with Pelikan at the time, and Pelicano would be the student or the lower end Pelikan, and Geha was very competitive with Pelicano. So Pelikan bought out Geha. I can't remember the exact year, and they bought the company, and then they just shut it down. That's what I've heard anyway. But what I would like to one funny little thing about Geha, uh, they have a little gimmick, and it can only be described as a gimmick. Under each nib on the section, there's a little red button. Now, the idea is, as you're writing and your pen runs out of ink, you push down the little button, and there's a little reservoir somewhere in the section that contains a bit of ink so that you can continue writing for a while. Which is kind of funny because when you think about it, you fill the pen up with the ink, and some of the ink that you fill the pen up with goes to the reservoir. So it's the same amount of ink that you put in it. Yeah, it was just an interesting little thing that they thought up of it just to set them apart from others. It's not like there's magically more ink. If you put a cartridge in it, it's the same amount of ink, right? But some of it just goes to this reservoir to be held back until you press down the button. So anyway, they are they're cartridge filled pens. The cartridges are no longer made, but oddly enough, they take Lamy. Lamy cartridges will fit this pen. As I said, Geha had some odd little gimmicks, and I'm just going to show you a couple empty cartridges that I have that are Geha cartridges. And the idea, every one of them came, of the student pens came with these little metal sleeves. I have another one here from both pens. And the idea being you would put that cartridge there, this cartridge there, And then as you put it in the pen, right? So this would go in here, and there would be 2 cartridges in the barrel. And when, anyway, anyway, I'm not too sure exactly how it fits, and I'd have to squeeze that in. So there'd be 2 cartridges in the barrel. Maybe that, yeah, so that goes in a little bit further. But so there'd be 2 cartridges in the barrel, and when one runs out, you pull it out and you flip the cartridge over and you put it back in, which makes me wonder why you need the metal sleeve. I don't know. But it was just a nice little thing that they did. Somebody was trying to come up with some different ideas just to make themselves stand apart. And that's one of the things they did. Now, what else can I say about Geha? For, West German company, they made student pens. And, it's a plastic body, plastic section, metal cap. But it actually feels quite nice. It feels like a well-made pen. The cap is very well made, stiff clip. It's held up very well. And what I like about this pen is that actually, for what is considered a student pen, it actually writes quite nicely. So, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. I still can't write and talk at the same time. Now, one thing I've noticed about it, it's a nice smooth writer, bit of bounce to it, but it's a hard nib. Probably for, you could probably use carbon paper quite easily with this pen and not worry about it. You could probably use all kinds of different grades of paper and not worry about it. So and at the same time, because it's a student pen, it needs to write well, or the child or the person using it isn't going to use the pen. So for an inexpensive pen, it's well made, it writes well, and it looks quite nice actually. Because a lot of these pens aimed at children, they wanted them to look nice, and so they have nice colors. These models come in lots of different colors. There's yellow, there's blues, there's greens. I think there's reds and purples. So I've seen them in many different colors, and there's variations on sections and nibs and things like that, and caps. And as you can see here, this is kind of a frosted metal, and this is kind of a shinier. So yeah, they were always designed to be eye-catching, to be interesting. The ink windows are different shapes, little details like that. They have the nice little fun reservoir. It was probably a lot of fun when you're a kid pushing that down and getting your pen to write. All those things are kind of cool. I have another Geha here from a bit earlier, so it's quite a different period. This is a Geha 708, and this is a I don't know if it's still a student pen. It might actually still be a student pen. But it's different period. It has an ink window, and this is a piston filler. So there's a piston at the end here that you turn, and it's a semi-hooded nib. And of course, it has. You can't see it right here. It does actually have when this is filled, a little button pops up, and so this actually has the little reservoir button. You can't see, you can barely see it right there. I pushed it down, but when that fills up, that'll pop up, and you'll be able to use the same idea. And of course, this would hold a lot more ink than these, right? So yeah, it's a fun brand, the Geha. I quite like it. I've seen lots of different designs and colors, and I think they've been out of business since the 70s. But once again, Germany made a lot of interesting pens, and they still make a lot of interesting pens, and beautiful pens by Geha. And you can still find them at reasonable prices and in excellent condition, because they made a lot of them, and not all of them were bought. And there's like new old stock kicking around, but Anyway, thank you for watching. If you have a Geha, I'd love to hear from you. Do you like them? Did you ever use them when you were a kid? If you're from Germany or someplace like that, I'd love to hear that too. What's your experience with student pens? What was your student pen? Uh, do you know more about the history of the company? I'd love to hear that too. All these things. And if you like the video, I'd love it if you give it a thumbs up. And if you're new around here, I invite you to subscribe and just say hello in the comments if you wish. That's always nice to hear from people too. So I hope you're having a great day. It's been a very nice day here, except for a massive rainstorm just a few minutes ago. But now the sun is coming out, and I'm going to take my dog for a walk. But anyway, I'll talk to you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.